Yeah. You ready to record, yeah?
Dead.
Let's go.
Right,
Let's
let's
go.
get into it.
Detailed.
First off, Happy New Year, my guys.
Happy New Year to
Happy
everyone.
New Year
Man,
to
salute everyone, man. Happy New Year. So today we're going to talk about Bitcoin. Obviously, as of today, like earlier, I was going crazy. It was like $34.5K per coin.
Just jumping in straight like
The-
that.
wait.
What does that even mean?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
you're
No,
just
exactly. No, but
just
wait.
talking
bare
about-
No, but when I
numbers.
say numbers like that, people are going to be like, raw, like, what's this
Nah,
thing?
you
I've
just-
never even heard of this
Yes.
thing.
Bro, like,
Just
warm
wait,
man up.
man. Just
Some people are
wait.
switched
Let me
off.
run this. Hey, am I
35K,
running
they're
this thing or
like,
not?
I ain't got that safe.
Am I running this thing or what? Let man get his thing off.
Jesus.
So anyway, like I was saying, today it's gone 34.5 K per coin. It's been crazy. Like some people would have heard of Bitcoin from what happened in 2017. Some people would never have heard of Bitcoin before today. So Connor, can you just tell us a little bit about what Bitcoin is?
Ah, man, like minute and a half in, you just want to throw the kitchen sink at
Yeah,
me.
let's go, man. Let's talk, man.
Okay, Bitcoin means a lot of different things to different people.
Can we just break it down in layman's terms if I've never heard what Bitcoin is before?
If you've never heard what Bitcoin is before,
Wait, before we even go into that,
that's what I'm saying.
before we even go into that, why do you know so much about Bitcoin?
So I've been involved in Bitcoin for like the last 3 years. I think it started in 2017 for me. Like I was working for like one of these big corps, and I work in tech in it. So during like 2017, late 2017, we had what's called a bull run, where like the price of Bitcoin just goes kind of parabolic.
So wait, before this, you never knew about Bitcoin.
Nah, before this, I never knew about it.
So you learn about it through the work,
through
basically.
work,
They
like,
taught you.
like I've got engineers around me, people that work in tech, product people, and all that kind of stuff, and they're like, "Oh, you seeing this like Bitcoin thing? Like, should we like?" And it was kind of more of a just jumped on a wave, kind of like the price is going up. It's a way to make money, like it's not beat around.
So
the
wait,
bush.
so it wasn't actually the company, but it was the people working.
Yeah.
So you lot was just doing your
But
own.
very specifically like working in tech.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
think people who was working in marketing or
They knew
people
about
who
that
was
stuff.
working
Maybe finance people might know.
Oh,
about
okay.
it.
finance, but yeah, probably. But the fact that it's a technology ultimately.
So it's the individuals that were doing it.
Yeah.
It weren't like the company wasn't.
Nah,
nothing.
it's
It's
just
just
like
the people you
I
met.
worked around,
Okay,
innit?
okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And they
Okay.
were like, "Oh, have you seen this?" So like, people are jumping on over a short period of time. Like the price was rising quickly, so you think, "Oh, okay, let me put some money in, get it out, make a quick flip kind of thing." Shortly after that, in early 2018, like the price dipped, so it reached a peak of about like $19,500 for one Bitcoin. And shortly after, in like the first quarter of 2018, it went down to like $3,000 or $3,500. So that's
That's
a
a big
sharp
dip, yeah.
decline. So anyone who obviously bought during that Christmas period has lost a significant amount of money. That's what a 70%, 60% correction or whatever. So nonetheless, like working in tech, it turned out to be a blessing because I was like, okay, well, I've lost a bit of money here. So, and it wasn't a lot, it was a very small amount, but let me stick around to find out what this is about. Like if there's anything, you know, if there's any value to this. So I just spent like the next 3 years studying it, help organize a conference,
But what made you want to do that? Like, why all of a sudden did you have this? Like, you see, for me, I don't know. Maybe like if I put some money in somewhere and I've lost it,
Yeah.
I'm not going deeper to find out what's going on here.
That's a
I'm
good
a little
question.
bit like,
And that's like
hold
a
on a
lot-
minute. Maybe it ain't for me. I don't know enough about it. I'll listen to others. But you've now gone. You've lost some money, regardless of what it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You've gone. Wait a minute. There's something here. Like, what's triggered you to think this is actually it? Because
It's a good question. I don't know, man. It's kind of like you do your Googles and you find out, there's this book. Okay, what's mastering Bitcoin? Okay, like someone's written a 500-page book about Bitcoin. Who would waste their time to write 500
Yeah, of
pages
course.
about Bitcoin? All right, cool. Let's order it. Let's see. And it's a technical book. It's for engineers. I'm a software engineer, so it's for engineers as well. All right, let's read it. Okay. This is blockchain. This is interesting. Go on YouTube. Okay, Bitcoin. People are doing talks all around the world since like 2011, 2010,
Yeah.
2009. Okay, so this has been around.
yeah,
for a
we
while.
definitely didn't know about it back then.
Yeah, exactly. It's been around since 2008, 2009. Okay, interesting. Oh, it's trying to bring a new financial system to the world. Okay, interesting. Like whatever. I live in the West. I got access to finances. Like whatever. And you just keep going further and further down the rabbit hole, and you're like, shit, man, this is some revolutionary stuff.
shit.
This is like, wow, okay. So that was it for me. And then as of recently, I've got the kind of privilege of working on Bitcoin full time, through a grant through Square Crypto.
Okay.
Square are like they're like a PayPal, I guess. Yeah,
Payment processing.
How did you get into that?
right.
I'm guessing you'd have to have some sort of significant knowledge on Bitcoin to even get.
Yeah, you do.
something like
And
that.
you have to have kind of contributed to the space in some way. So the stuff I mentioned earlier about like being involved in organizing conferences and working in open source, and just being part of the community,
Got a Bitcoin podcast.
like a podcast and all these kind of things. And then my goal was eventually to be able to work on Bitcoin full time at some point in the near future, and it's happened sooner than I imagined. So it's good. So yeah, like that's how I kind of.
So I just want to pause you there because there's going to be a couple people that are a couple minutes into the video and still have no clue what the hell we're talking about.
Right.
So let's break down what is Bitcoin to a complete novice who has never heard of it before.
Yeah. So man, there's so many like different angles you can approach it
100%.
from. But let's talk.
Let's say I was to come to you and
Yeah.
say I want to invest in Bitcoin. I've heard great things about it. I want to invest in it. What would you advise me to do?
So I wouldn't advise you anything because I'm not a financial advisor. so I wouldn't tell you to do anything. But on a real note, on real talk, I tried to give you the story. So let's talk about in the context of gold, yeah.
Okay.
So like, I was speaking to someone recently as well, and she's Indian, and she talked about how
I just want to stop you there before you go because I know where you're going with this because obviously I know a little bit about Bitcoin, but we need to just break this down like very, very simply. Like let's not talk about gold, nothing like. Very
but I
simply,
think we do. Like,
No, but let's talk about what it is, and then we can break it down on how you can equate it and etc. etc. But just very high level, very, very high level. How would you explain this to a grandmother, for example, about what is Bitcoin? Like very simply.
Like if you want the one liner,
Yeah.
it's a person to person electronic cash system.
Perfect.
A person to person electronic cash system.
Perfect.
So think about cash that we use in everyday life. Like if you have a service or you want to borrow money from me, I just give you the cash. There's no bank in between us, right? Like there's no one to say that we can't do the trade. There's no one to say that we can't exchange money. Bitcoin represents that in the digital world. So I can send money to anyone in the world without an intermediary, they call it, without an institution in between. Now, at first glance, that doesn't sound that groundbreaking because you live in the West and I can send money.
Yeah, but so it's not the same as a bank transfer, obviously, because with a bank transfer, there's like a receipt. So you're saying there's no receipts?
No receipts, no.
I mean, there is a receipt. So there's but you
Not in
can't
the
see, you
traditional
can't say,
sense.
yeah, so not in the traditional sense. So it's not Ahmed sent Connor £10. It's bank account A sent money to bank account B.
No, it's not bank.
No.
Well, not bank account, but
person.
address one sent money to address
And money can go missing, you can't trace it.
No. Money can't go missing. It's like, obviously, if you...
Not missing, okay, but with a cash transaction, if I'm giving you cash and for whatever reason I've given you the wrong amount, you can't.
No, it's irreversible. Unless
That's-
I give you the money back, then it's
and
irreversible.
there's nothing to say that this is the amount you gave me.
There is.
So it does tell you
can,
what the
yeah.
amount is. So it's not just cash being gone over. It does actually say this person has transferred X amount.
Doesn't say person though. That's the key part. It's
Oh,
address. So like
But
your
forget that. Forget addresses anyway.
Okay.
But just stick on that point. So the closest analogy I think I can give is the internet. So to be able to use the internet, you don't need to have any form of ID. You don't have to ask anyone for permission. You just need to have a smartphone and a web browser, and you can go and find out as much information as you want.
Yeah.
So internet kind of democratized information for everyone in the world. You can be a kid in rural Nigeria, and as long as you've got a smartphone, you can have access to the internet, which means you can have access to information, which means you can educate yourself, which means you can better your life. Bitcoin does exactly the same thing for money. You don't have to have identification. You don't have to ask anyone for permission, but you can have access to financial services without having to ask anyone.
Talk.
So that concept is very powerful because now it means 4 billion people on the planet can now start engaging in economic activity, whereas before they didn't have access to any financial services. Being able to access financial services means you can plan for the future, means you can create improvements generationally. So Bitcoin is the internet of money.
Oh wow.
That's powerful. That's how I'm getting gassed.
Yeah,
That's powerful.
So,
that's powerful.
So that's how some people like to look at it. But that is just like the surface. And there's so many different tracks you can go down. So if I asked you what the internet mean to you, it's going to be completely different to what it probably means to you. Like, let's even like take us like a little side tour.
Detour. Yeah. What does the internet mean to me? It's a network that enables me to do multiple things. So to gain information for myself, to communicate with others, to look back on history, my own history. So like there's like articles of me on the internet from like 2008, like playing football as a kid, or like little football teams or whatever, what have you. So yeah, like it almost acts as like a history book. Also somewhere I can save things for the future, and somewhere that I can access information. So that's what I use.
I would say near enough the same. It's just information, isn't it? Anything that I want to know or find out, I'm going on the internet to whatever it may be, whether it's learning how to cook, learning how to make things, to do things, or even just heard a story, I don't know, about someone getting arrested or whatever. You just go on the internet, don't you? So for information bases, it's the place to go to, isn't it?
And it there's this concept called it dematerializes stuff. So like you don't send letters to people anymore. You send them text, right? Like we had the email is like an app on the internet. Internet is like just a protocol for sending information, and this concept of like making things in the kind of physical world dematerialize, so they're digital now, and the conveniences that gives you are like we all experience it.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, that's kind of some of the.
So one thing I wanted to touch on, obviously I've done a little bit of my own research on Bitcoin, and something that I think needs to be highlighted is we as people in the Western world might not see this as revolutionary as it is. So obviously someone who studied economics, obviously we study like Zimbabwe where they had hyperinflation, or we study Venezuela. So just touch on how big this is for those countries. Like even being a Nigerian person, there's a lot of corruption within the financial services industry there. So do you want to just touch on like how big it is for those emerging markets who don't have a trustworthy financial system?
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about. I do want to go into the gold for a second. Yeah. So like, gold is a precious metal. Like we all know what gold is. Some people use it for jewelry. It can be used in electronics, but it's predominantly used as like a store of value, so to preserve your wealth.
Yeah.
So you transfer your cash into gold, and it has all of the properties that mean that you can store your wealth over time. It doesn't decay, it's scarce, and all this kind of stuff. So a lot of people store their wealth in something like gold. It might not be something that we do, because we weren't educated on investing in gold and stuff, but it's what people who have a lot of money and want a place to store their value, and big governments and banks and all this kind of stuff do, yeah? So if we look at like a paper money, fiat currency, like the pound, the US dollar, all of these kind of stuff, they over time they've lost purchasing power. And you might experience this in your like everyday life, where in 1971 $100 is $100, and in 2020 that same $100 is now worth $25. The sole reason for that is a process called inflation. Like a lot of people are familiar with inflation. Just quickly, inflation is just an increase in prices, goods and services in an economy. They try and keep it around 2%, but let's just say it's 2% every year, yeah? So let's say I have a box of cash, and I'm saving money and I'm putting cash in this box. Inflation means every year 2% of that money is losing its purchasing power. So over a 10-year period, I've lost 20% of my money. If I just leave it in a box, I don't invest it in anything, I don't do nothing, I just leave it there, it loses 20% of its value, yeah? So what do I do? Like, what do? Do I just leave it there and let the money like melt away? Or do I find a way to beat inflation? Do I find a way to make more than 2%? So gold is one of those mechanisms to do that. In 1971, $100 worth of gold in 2020 is now worth roughly $140 of gold worth of in dollars. So you can see that it's not only retained its ability to purchase you the same amount of stuff, it's actually increased.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is now the superior store of value. It's like the number one way to store your value. It's better than gold. So it's digital gold.
No way.
So it's a digital version of gold.
And why is that? Which I'm sure you're going to go on to next.
So without going too much, like gold has certain properties that make it a good store of value. So gold is scarce. Like I can't just go into my garden and dig up some gold. Like gold has to be, you have to go deep into the earth and you have to have all these big pieces of equipment and you have to mine it. So it takes a lot of human energy to get it up from the ground. So that's one thing. So you want a good store of value to have good scarcity. But the issue with gold is that like it's heavy, right? I don't know if you've ever seen like a gold bar.
Yeah.
Like, imagine having tons of gold bars, like,
and you got to store it somewhere.
Exactly,
you got to have the space to put it somewhere. And if people know that you've got it in your house, for instance, it's a problem.
It's
sticky.
And hence why a lot of people store it in central banks or Singapore and all these kind of places, yeah, because who wants to store tons of gold in
because if it goes missing, it's gone. There's no...
You've got the storage problem, you've got the the transport problem, and then you've got like the divisibility.
The visibility, I was going to say.
So like, how do I chop up this thing so I can just give a little bit to...
Yeah, to him. If you want to give that to family,
like,
whatever.
What that process is long, like chipping off bits of gold.
Imagine it.
Like, you can't really do that with gold, can you? And so you can't pay for stuff with gold. It's a good store of value, but you can't really use it as a payment mechanism. Bitcoin takes all of those things and flips it on its head and says, we're going to give you scarcity, absolute scarcity, in that there's only 21 million coins ever that will ever exist. There's only 21. So it's absolute scarcity. Gold is not absolutely scarce because we might find gold on like the moon, or we can always find new places geographically where there might be gold.
Sea and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so gold is not absolutely scarce, but it's hard to find, yeah? So Bitcoin says, okay, we're going to beat you on scarcity. And then it says, all right, we're gonna beat you on transportability as well, because we're digital and we can send it from person to person over the internet in a matter of seconds. So we'll beat you on transportability as well. We'll beat you on storage because we only need a smartphone to store it. In fact, we can store it on paper if you want. We just have our private key and we store it on paper. Like, so we'll beat you on storage as well. And then we'll say, all right, gold you couldn't divide out very easily. So we'll have wonderful divisibility because we can chop up one Bitcoin into 100 million Satoshi, so 100 million units. So one Bitcoin is like 100 million. 100 million is one. 100 million.
8 zeros.
Yeah, so 8 zeros. It can be divided up to 8 zeros. So it's like I can give the smallest piece to anyone I want. So good divisibility again. So it beats gold on all of these characteristics that make a good store of value. And over time, the amount of Bitcoin that comes into existence reduces. So it's actually deflationary. So it means that over time, your purchasing power increases. So it's a lot to get your head around. It is a lot to get your head around. But I think the gold and Bitcoin comparison is quite a good one because it's the new versus the old school in many ways. Yeah.
I mean, he's already given me this spiel, so I know most of this stuff.
Yeah, to me,
I can see this going around in your
I'm
head.
going around and I'm just like the way you've compared it to gold, because obviously I don't know a lot about gold, but I know enough about gold to know that, like, my parents bought gold and
Yeah,
kept it, and
yeah.
in terms of, you know what I mean, to sell on or whatever,
Yeah,
or to
exactly.
keep it for a few years, then in
Yeah.
10 years time
Yeah.
sell it or whatever.
Exactly, yeah.
So I'm just thinking, like, if I was to buy, let's say, gold now, I don't know, $5,000 worth, does that mean in 10 years time that's guaranteed to go up? Because with gold, it wasn't guaranteed in terms of it wasn't guaranteed of how much it would go up by, but it's definitely going up. Don't get me wrong, in them 10 years or 5 years, there's a
Yeah.
up and down, it goes up
over
and
the long term.
but over the long term it goes up.
Yeah.
Is Bitcoin basically the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at price charts for Bitcoin and gold, like since Bitcoin's existence, let's say 2009, it compared to most fiat currencies, it's increased in value quite a lot, significantly a lot. In 2009, one Bitcoin was $1.
In 2009.
Yeah, and in 2021, it's around 32.
It's 34,300. I just got it up.
How much?
34,000.
34. And what was it in 10 years ago? Or
$1.
about 12 years ago?
$1.
Do you know what he was doing in 2008, 2009?
Yeah,
Do you know what he was doing?
and ball, innit?
Yeah.
We were full-time footballers.
Yeah.
So imagine
Yeah,
we'd invested.
but you don't know, innit? Like,
But just imagine. But I only found out about Bitcoin since you told me about it, which was literally like 2017, I think, 2018, when you started to throw bits at me. That's when you was obviously new to it, and I was just like, I don't even know. It's the first time I've heard of it. And
So there's one other point I want to make around. So the average person, in my opinion, is operating their life at a loss. So, like I was saying earlier about inflation, if you just left your money in a savings account, currently the savings rate is like close to 0%.
yeah,
Inflation is 2%. That is the conservative mainstream opinion of inflation. But in reality, inflation is closer to, let's say, 15%, because anyone who's living in London, for example, knows that like the house prices are through the roof.
Yeah.
They know that education is through the roof. They know that most like asset purchases are just beyond their reach. And you probably feel like these things are getting harder to attain because they are. In 30 years ago, 20 years ago, our parents could, easily get on the property ladder. There was a time when one salary was enough to look after a family of four. Like, people can't even envision these things now. And unfortunately, like, you're not the sole person to blame for it as an individual. There are societal and infrastructure things and financial infrastructure that's been put in place that's making your life actually harder. So you're actually operating your life at like a 15% loss every year. So you got to fight that somehow. And that Bitcoin can potentially be that mechanism to help people fight that, because of it's designed to help you store your energy at a more deeper level. Because living your life at a loss at 10 to 15% every year means is that you're actually losing energy in your life, because you have to work extra hard to make up that loss that is occurring through inflation.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's it goes quite deep, but I would definitely encourage people to spend time and educate themselves on it, because you don't want to be last to the race.
We're already behind as it is by the sounds of it. But it's not, like you said, it's not too late.
Yeah, but on your point, I think I just want to touch on this from my perspective. So obviously, I'm nowhere near as educated on Bitcoin as you are, but I probably know a little bit more than you do just through Connor. And I think the biggest thing, a couple of my friends have messaged me recently, and I think the biggest thing is they see the price and they're like, whoa, this is massive. Like, I've missed the boat. Like, if you see one Bitcoin, I think in pounds is about 25k at the minute. And everyone's like, wow, like, oh, I wish I would have invested when it was 10 grand or 12 grand or 1 grand or whatever. Yeah. But it's not too late, because of this deflationary property. Even if you put if there's a certain amount of money that you want, that you think that you should invest, you can put it in Bitcoin, and over the long term, you should see a positive return, because it's deflationary in its nature, in that it's fixed supply. So as the demand increases, the number goes up. So don't think that because the number is massive now, it might not be higher than that in the future. And you also don't need to buy a whole Bitcoin. That's something that you see, like Bitcoin 101. It's like, oh man, who's got 25 grand to spend on a Bitcoin? It's like, no, like Connor said earlier, it's divisible by 100 million. So you can put as little as £1 in, and watch it grow. So I just wanted to make that point.
And would you say, so, you know, you mentioned obviously about your savings account. Would you say if you're putting your money into a savings account, would it be not safer? Would it be better to put into Bitcoin?
Yeah, again,
Like, how does that compare? Do you know what I mean? Because I know for a fact there's loads of people, the first thing you do every month is you have a set amount you put away in your savings account. And for me personally, it doesn't, that extra little bit is not really, it's not, you're just storing the money there, really. You just don't want
losing
it.
it, technically.
Well, okay, yeah, you're losing it, but like you're putting it somewhere. Do you get what I'm saying? In your account, it's just what we know.
You're paying to have your money stolen.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But you have no. What else do you do? Do you know what I mean? There's nothing else to like. That's what
we're told to do.
Yeah, that's what you're told to
have a
do.
savings
So as a
account.
normal person, that's what you do. You want to save money because whether you're saving for a holiday, for a car, for a house, whatever it is, you just put the money in your savings account,
Facts.
knowing that nothing's gonna happen. Really and truly. So would you say, like, I don't know, how does it compare, or would you obviously how would you compare them to instead of
So
putting in a
again,
savings
like,
account?
I'm not here to give like financial.
No, of
advice or
course, yeah,
anything,
yeah.
But like, Bitcoin is the ultimate savings account. If you're thinking about saving for the future, then you should seriously consider educating yourself about Bitcoin because that's what it's designed to do.
I think that's a good point that you made sure you caveated with the future, because I would say don't put any money that you quickly need access to into Bitcoin, as with any investment.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, cryptocurrencies are seen as assets, which means they're liable to capital gains tax. So if you're going to put money into Bitcoin and then you're going to sell it 3 months down the line, you're going to be taxed on that 20%. It's not like your actual savings account where you just put the money in and you have access to it. If you sell your Bitcoin to convert it back to cash, they're going to tax you on that. So I would see it more as a long-term investment, long-term savings, and not a savings account that you quickly need access to.
Yeah.
But again, I'm no financial expert.
But
Yeah. So probably maybe lastly is like people will be watching. All right, cool. Like you might have convinced some people to look into it, whatever. So how do I get some? How do I buy some? Like where do I go to get it from? So there's a number of ways. So Bitcoin is money. So it being money, you can earn it. So you can trade your labor. You can be a hairdresser, a plumber, whatever, and you can ask people to pay you in Bitcoin. Maybe we're not quite at that place in
the
the
people have it
in the timeline,
to pay.
yeah, because it's still very early. So, but that is one way, and people have done it, and people do it. So that's one way, and that's probably the best way because it's true to the essence of person to person, peer to peer, no banks, none of this stuff. Then the second way is probably through an exchange. I don't want to name certain exchanges because for personal reasons, but you can go on an exchange. So say like you go on holiday to somewhere in Europe or wherever, and you go to an exchange and you change your pounds for euros, your pounds for dollars, you can go to a cryptocurrency exchange and do exactly the same. So you can exchange your pounds.
Well, like physically, you could actually go there.
No,
Or you
so
mean
this
that
is-
online?
Yeah, so this is all online.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
And you can exchange fiat currency for cryptocurrency. So you can do it that way. You can also do it through like peer-to-peer exchanges online as well, where you can say you wanna buy X amount and you meet someone locally in your local area. You meet up together, you do the trade that way, which is another quite nice way to do it. It's more private. It's more again true to the essence of person to person. And then slowly we're starting to see other ways of doing it. Like you can like buy gift cards that have a certain amount of Bitcoin on them, and you just scan them with your phone, and then
There's also like Bitcoin ATMs. So
Yeah.
obviously we live in East London at the moment. Our local shop has a Bitcoin ATM.
They
where you
still
can
have
go
it?
in, yeah.
yeah.
Where you can go in, put your cash in, and basically like have your phone, and it will send the Bitcoin to your Bitcoin wallet. So you can.
Does that charge you any? Is there a charge?
So there's probably like an ATM fee and there's a network fee, but I'm sure they're pretty low. But kind of you can correct me on that.
It's usually a bit more, maybe a 10 to 50% markup on the normal market price. So you pay a bit more, but you get more like privacy, I'd say.
Okay. So
and
do I need?
convenience as well?
So let's say like I needed a Bitcoin. Is it like opening up a bank account? But a
So
digital
no,
bank
so this is where it flips this on its head. It's not like opening a bank account. Because what's opening a bank account like? What do you have to do?
Just ID, blah blah blah, like loads of different things.
And what if you
Proof
don't
who
have
you are.
ID?
Yeah, Smith.
What if you don't have ID? You can't have a bank account.
Can't
right?
have,
If you
yeah,
don't have a permanent address.
Bitcoin says no. You are a bank.
Okay. So if I wanted to open one, what would the procedure
You
be?
just go to the App Store, whether it's the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, and you download a Bitcoin wallet, and that's your.
Is that
bank.
what it's called? Bitcoin wallet?
It's not called Bitcoin. There's different vendors. So there.
Is that, you see when you see different vendors, is that it's like different bank accounts, HSBC, Lloyds, is that what you mean?
No, they're just different people who have created wallets. So how can I put? It's like different web browsers. So
Okay,
some
but they all do the same thing. There's no.
They all do the same thing.
Okay, so you just decide.
Slight. They all do at the core. They all do
Yeah.
the same
Okay.
thing. You can send and receive transactions, but there are little nuances that are different. That some browsers are better than other. Like
Okay.
I like Brave browser. You might like Google Chrome. You like Safari.
Okay,
You
yeah.
might like Opera.
Okay, for whatever the look or whatever,
Yeah.
but they all do
But
the
you
main.
don't have to give your ID to use Google Chrome.
Nah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, so that's what. So do it. Follow the instructions. Open. Bang.
Yeah.
You've got a Bitcoin account, and now, if I wanted to transfer, let's say, money in my account to Bitcoin, what does that look like?
So from your fiat, like from your normal bank account.
Yeah, from my normal bank account, because I've just opened up a wallet,
Yeah.
and in my wallet I have zero
Yeah.
Bitcoins. I now want to transfer, I don't know, £10
Yeah.
that of real money to Bitcoin. To put in my Bitcoin.
Yeah. So you need
Wallet.
So you need to exchange it for Bitcoin first.
Yeah, how?
Using one of those methods that I just described, like exchange or earn it or
Oh, okay,
whatever.
so
And then
if I get one of them exchange things, so this is just like, if I wanted to do it, I'd have to go connect that to my bank, do the exchange. Now, let's say on the exchange app, I'm guessing I will have like a mini wallet on there
Yeah.
that would have my coins in it.
Yeah.
How do I transfer that to my
so
my
then,
wallet?
Yeah,
Yeah.
your Bitcoin wallet.
Yeah.
yeah.
my Bitcoin
So
wallet.
then your wallet will generate an address for you. So like an email address.
Yeah.
It will generate an address for you, and basically you go on the exchange and you say, I want to send X amount to this address, which
Okay.
is generated for you by your wallet. And then it's as simple as
And then the money goes
Yeah,
straight in.
it's-
Then now you got money in your wallet.
It's as simple as like email. It's the same as email, really, in many respects. So it's not difficult to use.
Yes, all the main thing that stands out for me is all on your phone, and we know what this generation is like. If you can
Yeah.
do anything on your phone, people are more interested in it.
Yeah.
If you was to say now to do all of that, you've got to go to a shop or to. I don't think anyone's interested
Yeah.
because everyone wants to do everything from their phone or from home
Convenient.
or whatever. It's convenience. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's true.
So
So I think you've broken down Bitcoin really well, and I think some people are off the back of this may go and buy some Bitcoin or at least going to do a deeper dive. So for the people who are going to do a deeper dive, what sort of resources would you suggest to them to have a look at if they want to go in more detail?
Yeah, it's a good one. For the readers out there, which is probably few and far between, The Bitcoin Standard by Saifedean Ammous is a really good book which outlines like the history of money and why Bitcoin is important. So that's like, I'd consider that a very good resource. I would YouTube an educator called Andreas Antonopoulos. Like for me, he was like very inspirational in my education in Bitcoin. And ultimately, I would just get involved, like earn some, buy some, like get involved. That's the only real way to kind of to push things forward. I think very small amount. Just get involved in some way.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm the same. I think that once you are involved in the community, then you take more interest. I think it's very hard when you have no stakes, like skin in the game, to care. But when
I do want to stress the idea of like getting off zero, because the internet coming into like its full force when, okay, let's say late 90s, when you start getting the Googles of this world and all of that. Obviously the early 90s when the internet really started, but it can be difficult to picture where a technology is going, because we're all so used to how things are, and every time a new technology comes into being, there is a lot of resistance and friction around it. Like when the cars first came into, or automobiles first came into being, it was, these things are like, why would you use a car with a horse? But
that seems stupid.
it seems stupid, right? Like, because the cars they're breaking down all the time and all this kind of stuff. But what actually was the problem was something called I think they call it infrastructure inversion. So you have an automobile, but the roads are shit. So it makes the car seem like it's shit, right? But that's not the case. The car was the best invention at the time, but the society wasn't set up for it. So sometimes it takes infrastructure to
around it
for you to see its true potential. And it was the same with the internet in the early 90s. Like when we were younger, we remember like having to like load up modems and the stupid dial-up connection and all that crap. But 10 years on, we're streaming 4K videos on Netflix.
Yeah. And just for like our football fans, it's like having a technical player playing in a physical team. You're gonna just for our football in our sports, viewers and that.
Yeah.
It's like putting Iniesta to play for Sam Allardyce.
Facts.
Yeah.
You're gonna think Iniesta's the worst player in the world.
Straight away you're gonna think this guy is small, he can't run, he's too weak, he's got
crap.
no brain, he can't pass, he can't do nothing.
Doesn't get on second ball, he's not hungry.
Because he's playing for Sam Allardyce.
Change the environment.
Yeah, because the environment that he's in is not built for him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But now, obviously, we've seen him play in his environment, which is at Barcelona.
That's a life lesson as well. That like just because you could be at work, it could be football, it could be a technology,
could be anything.
Like just because it's not necessarily happening in that
Environment,
infrastructure, that environment, it doesn't mean that
you failed.
It doesn't.
Or you don't know what you're doing, or you don't know,
or you're not talented. For example,
and I think a lot of people take that for granted, thinking that when I'm somewhere and things are not working out, it's me.
We see it all the time in football with like
all the time.
Like more recently, like the Mo Salahs, the Kevin De Bruyne's, like when they first were in England, like
they played for
anything.
Yeah,
they go away like
patting up their
craft, get in a space where I can really do my thing, and then turns
grow. Exactly. And then now environments are built for them. Because they're that good, so now it's like
that's a great. Do
you know what I mean? So now people are building.
Now they got to build the infrastructure around it.
Because
build the infrastructure around it.
Because now this is our asset
around Bitcoin. Because we didn't really see the vision. So that's an excellent point. So, yeah, man. Those are some resources anyway. So I hope you find your way down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, for sure. So I just want to transition the conversation a little bit, and it has a little bit to do with Bitcoin, but then also maybe like the wider topic, because I want to talk about like goal setting. I think this is a time of year when everyone is setting goals moving forward. Everyone is kind of reflecting on how last year went and looking forward into 2021. And like one of my goals is to understand Bitcoin a little bit further and to go further down the rabbit hole. So I just wanted to ask you guys, have you previously like set New Year's resolutions? Have you got goals for this year? What did your goals look like last year? Because it probably didn't materialize because of this COVID-19 thing. So yeah, Abs first, like, have you talked to me?
Like, see, when it comes to New Year's resolution, I don't really have that. It's just because the way my year kind of starts at like May, June. Now I'm gonna explain to you why. Yeah, so like, so like, okay, June, July, like around that time. I'm gonna explain to you.
It's too cold before.
No, it's not. No. Everyone, this is what I mean. But this is why. So my year, that's when it start. That's the start of my year, and it's simply because that's how I've grown up through football. So when you think about how football starts, your football season, when does it start?
Pre-season,
depending where you're at, June, July. So June, July is really, that's when you're getting down to work and your season, you can't do nothing in the middle of the season. You can't go on holiday, you can't do, so everything that you're gonna do for the year, you have to put in place before pre-season, which is June, July. Obviously season starts around August, depending where you're at. So for me, May, June, July, them kind of months there, that's where I'm starting to like gauge where I want to be next June. You know what I mean? And that's where you see where I'm coming from. So that's how it's, because that's what I've grown up. That's what I've always been like from young. And even going into like semi-professional football or whatever, it's still the same. Like if you play football, and everyone knows this, whether you're at the highest or the lowest level, June, July, that's when everything starts. Or when you get excited, when you start to get fear, when you start to have your, you know what I mean, get yourself ready for the year ahead. And that's when it starts for me. So I set everything up then, regardless of the year changing in
Okay,
January.
so you do set like goals around that
But
time.
that's when it starts.
When it starts.
Yeah, so that's the
okay.
start
So
of
you're
my year.
halfway. You're
So
almost halfway through your.
Yeah. So
Your
yeah. I'm halfway through
So
the year.
on reflection, how have your goals? You don't have to tell us what they are, but how have they materialized over the last 7 months? Because obviously COVID has done a mad thing. So
Like for me, it's been good.
Okay.
Like it's been a mad one, but for a certain reason, I don't want to say, but I am growing into what I want to do, as in like my career wise.
Right, okay.
Now having to do something for me,
Yeah,
and I'm doing it with a close friend. So for me, it's been great. It's mad because everyone's come out worse. And when I say worse, some people all they think about is financial. I'm not thinking about finances because for me, like I ain't got the most amount of money or whatever, but money comes and goes. I truly believe that. Like, forget money, it's how you're growing as a person. Are you growing as a person in what you're doing in your life? And for me, like I have come out better because now I'm actually building the foundations that in a few years' time it's gonna grow. It's definitely gonna grow. For me, it's been good. It's been so good, and I've grown more with my close friends. Like I've built more better relationships. Like I don't think even like I know it sounds mad, but we've become closer. Like you know what I mean? Like we was always close. I wasn't as close as to you, Dom, but now our friendship has become closer because now through this has allowed us time to actually see each other regularly. If you think about it, before this lockdown, we always spoke, but we'd never see face to face. Like every now and then we might meet up and we might go out or whatnot. But this has allowed us like once, twice a week that we get to see each other and spend like talking about our life and where we're trying to go. And I like to surround myself about people that are like-minded, that want to be successful. It might be in different environments, but we're all trying to grow.
Facts.
So now I'm spending more time with people around me that want to grow. And like another thing, we've got Sasha. You know what I mean? Like I've never really spoken to Sasha. Like he's a little bit younger than all of us, but now he's like the next generation. So he's
Big up Sasha.
big up.
you know what I mean? Like he's behind the cameras doing all this stuff, and I'd like to think that as much as we're hopefully trying to let him grow, he's watching us grow at the same time and taking inspiration. Like he inspires me. It sounds mad, but at 16, 17, I would not be doing what he's doing. Like going out of my depth to do something and think, you know what? There's a space for this, and there is a space for it, and. You know what I mean? He's inspiring me as much as hopefully we're inspiring him. You know what I mean? And I don't think we could have envisaged this without the lockdown, as mad as it sounds.
I hear that.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I hear that.
So,
So Con, what about you? Like, I take it that you do maybe follow maybe the calendar year a bit more, and look at things at year end. So like, how do you reflect on how last year's gone for you? Because you've had a lot of change, and how do you look forward to 2021?
Yeah, the reflections are a good one. One of a lot of gratitude. Gratitude is a must.
Gratitude is a must, man.
And I've grown a lot, definitely as a person. Like, I mean, just one of my goals last year was to travel a lot. To be honest, and I had some shit booked, but
Facts. We were supposed to go to LA and turn up, man. But it gets like that.
I mean, it gets like that. But I don't know, man. I don't think I'm a good goal setter.
Okay.
I'm not really. I'll be honest. I have visions of like where I want my life to go, and so every now and then again I'll be very explicit about something. But I do believe very much in like when you want to achieve something, like there's no better time to achieve it than the present moment.
Facts.
Like I don't see why one should wait for a New Year's resolution or anything of that nature. Like you should, if you've decided you want to achieve something, there's probably no better time than to attack it than now, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I'm not the person to come to, I don't think, for like strict goal setting and stuff like that. But I do think there are kind of lanes that you should try and focus your thoughts around. So you should definitely try and focus your thoughts around like where you want to be financially and what financial freedom looks like for you. So finances is one, relationship is one as 100%. Well. Like what do you, like you described, what are the people you want around you? What is the like intimate relationships you want to have? Like what are the, you know, all that kind of stuff. So that's one. And then your goals around health or your visions around how you want to live a healthy lifestyle is really important as well.
Yeah.
Then there's like the whole like career and like learning skills. Like how do you want to improve in your craft? Then there's like the educational piece. So like how do I want to become better, more knowledgeable, more all-round kind of person. And then there's this, of course, there's the spiritual. Like, what are your spiritual goals? Like, how do you want to get closer to the source, the Most High, all that kind of good stuff. So like, those are kind of like pockets to think about life in, I think. But in terms of being like very strict about I want to achieve it, so I'm not good at that. And I'm not saying people shouldn't do that, because I think there's value in writing stuff down and
so that's a good point. And it's funny, the way I've approached sort of goal setting this year in comparison to last year is very different. So last year, I think on the 31st or the 30th, I wrote down like 10 goals like on paper. I took a picture of it, put it on my notes, so that if I lose the paper or whatever. And like there was some like for the mid-year, there was some like throughout the whole year. Then I had a review of them, and I achieved most of them, and a few of them just like weren't viable. Like, so a couple of them were like travel to different states in America, and like just a couple of other things that I can't even remember off the top of my head now that I didn't achieve. But this year I've set no goals. I've written nothing down, because if I've written all these goals down and I've achieved 8 out of 10 of them, they weren't ambitious enough. And for me, obviously, I feel like, so for example, I set one goal to save a certain amount of money. And I saved way more than the amount of money than I wanted to save because of various reasons. Things changed, lockdown, I'm not going out with the boys on the weekend no more and having a couple of drinks or whatever. So I almost think it's better to have a vision of what I want to do. So let's just say, like you say, have little pockets where, okay, this year I want to save, I want to start saving. Or this year I want to make sure, a conscious effort to save. And however much I save. So like even today, I save a certain amount of money just in my savings account for emergencies. And then today, I just went into my account and I was thinking, wow, it's looking all right. Like, I didn't really spend too much. Let me put a little bit more peas in. And I think it's better than me saying, I want to save £100 a week, let's say. I want to save £100 a week. But there might be a week where you can save £200. But because I've set myself at 100, that might mean...
hold you back.
Yeah, it can hold me back. So I'm just looking more about the process of how I live my life, and a little bit kind of touches on what you said. There's things that I want to achieve in different areas and improve on. But I think, like it's best to almost not have very, very tight, constricting, concrete goals.
It's such a Western way of thinking as well, I think.
What, having like, goal setting,
like what life is.
Do you know how I see it?
Like, it's so like.
Do you know what I see it as? I see it, and I hopefully no one takes this the wrong way or nothing. But I think it just shows like lack of discipline for you to need to set yourself like I need to do this. Like if you want to do something, like you said, just go and do it. And I understand it's not that easy.
Yeah, fair.
Financially, it's different. Don't get me wrong. Like some people can't just put an X amount every single month, or some months they're gonna be like. Luckily, you've been in a position where you can put more. Some people, I understand them things, but like when you talk about like educating yourself and learning new things, also like just being healthy and spirit. That stuff don't cost nothing. It's a little bit of time, and there's always time in the day to do things like that, to educate yourself, to learn, to go on the internet and stuff like that. When it comes to things like that, I think it's lack of discipline for people to not educate themselves. And it doesn't have to be in something that you're interested in, but it could be something, it might be something new and different, but you're still educating yourself.
So that discipline is so like, I always remember this quote, I don't even know who says it, but like he says, there's no freedom absent discipline. So like you can't even get to freedom. You can't even get to like being a free human being if you don't have any discipline, because you're always going to be a slave to your vices. At the end of the day, you're always going to be like, like if it's health that you want to achieve, health, freedom, like healthy freedom and stuff like that, you won't be able to achieve that without discipline, because you're going to want to go after your workout that you spent an hour doing at the gym. You're going to go and eat dairy milk chocolate after, like, because you don't have the discipline. So you can never get to that freedom of health that you want, because it's the discipline, man. So it's so important. And then we're in a society where like that's trying to take away your discipline every 5 minutes. Social media,
so many temptations,
entertainment, this and like everything is designed for you to like have no discipline. Porn, this, that, like everything. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like it's those who can tap into that, And I like I'm not the healthiest person, but I do truly believe if you're a healthy person, like, and I'm not saying like be a fitness freak, but just genuinely, we know a couple of them,
like I wouldn't say a couple, no, but generally like health, like it puts you in the right place
Facts.
straight away. Like the way you think becomes sharper. You
Clarity.
everything becomes clearer. And it sounds mad, but like it actually does. Eating good food, nutrition stuff, like just
It's
being
everything: food, mental health, relationship.
everything
That's
changes.
all health.
And I know people see it as like, oh yeah, but who's got time to do this and who's got time to do that? I understand that, but it doesn't. It's the best thing that you can do for yourself without needing anyone else's help.
Yeah.
Just to eat well. Like, don't get me wrong, everyone has bad meals and you enjoy it, but if majority of the week, if there's 4 out of 7 days you're eating well, you're gonna be a better person in everything. You're gonna be, you know, more like sharper, more smarter. You become, your personality changes a little bit. You glow as a person. Everything just changes.
Yeah.
And I genuinely do believe like in that, because I felt it where, you know, when you go through like, obviously we play football or whatever. So throughout the season, you eat really well, blah, blah, blah. And then you get to the summer and you're like, this is my time. So I'm going on holiday and or when I'm going to see my family, like in Saudi or whatever, and I'm eating all sorts and I'm up till 6 a.m. and whatever. Don't get me wrong, I'm having a great time. But I don't feel myself. I feel sluggish. I feel heavy. I'm not, you know, like my personality is like it's not as bright. Everything's dark. But I'm having a great time because I'm on holiday.
That's the only food, fam.
Yeah, and you're just eating a rubbish at mad times. You're sleeping late. Everything becomes lethargic. And some people, that's how they live their life in general. And I couldn't think of anything worse. Like I couldn't think of anything worse, because now when you're failing at things, or you're not getting the right opportunities, or people don't take a liking to you, you're complaining about the world, but
you need to get yourself back together, like put it together.
Get yourself in check.
Get yourself together, get all over the place.
Yeah, I genuinely believe like if you're, it's actually mad, isn't it? But that's how people see it. People
literally
like a prime example. Yeah, obviously I deal with like 16 to 19-year-olds, young footballers that want to be pro footballers.
Yeah,
and the one question they ask is, Abs, can you get me a trial? Can you get me this? And I've given you all the information to do and become this young footballer, to tell you how to get to the top, because I've been there. So go do what I tell you. And then when I see you doing it, I'm going to go, right, he's ready.
Yeah.
I'm watching you eat rubbish food in front of my face.
They're not even hiding it.
Not hiding it. You're coming in 9 o'clock in the morning with a chocolate bar in your hand. A chocolate bar at 9 a.m. So that tells me.
Are you listening?
At 9 a.m, yeah, you're eating a chocolate bar. I've told you, every single day, I give a lot of energy to these boys. Like, I tell them what you should be eating, what time you should be eating it, when you should be eating it, every single thing. But you don't do it. But then 3 months down the line comes, and I've told you all these things for the 3 months, and you're still eating chocolate at 9 a.m, and you have the cheek to ask me for an opportunity. Tell me why I should give you an opportunity. And you know how the kids would think? They think, Ab's not giving us no opportunities. He don't want to see us progress. And you know, like I sit and I think to myself, and that's them at 16, 17, 18. I am telling you now, there's grown adults in the same situation. Maybe not necessarily like to football, but in their life, they could be, I don't know, getting the sack at work, or getting this, or this is happening to them at work, or you know they've broken up with their missus, or they've, you know, their relationship's gone sour, or something's happened, or this person's done that, or things are going wrong. And I truly believe things go wrong when you're not doing things right yourself for you. Do you know what I mean? And looking after yourself. If you don't do that, it's like a domino effect.
Yeah.
Everything around you, one by one, bang, bang, and it just knock on effect. When you do good things, don't get me wrong, not all the time good things are going to happen, but you're more stable as a person, like in your life. So I truly believe that if you do start off with just doing the right things and eating well and everything becomes clearer.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, actually. And just to touch on two things, I'm going to go back to one thing. But the first thing is, you spoke about health. And I was just thinking in my head as you was talking about that. Think of someone successful now, yeah? Just think of someone. Are they healthy?
100%. Anyone, any
on the surface.
Yeah, so like appearance wise, they look like a healthy person. Like, so to me, that just says, okay, you need to be healthy to have the right mindset that you talk about. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing I also want to speak about is you talked about there's no better time than now, and that's definitely something that I learned in 2020. Is like, if I feel like I want to do something, or I want to read up on something, I want to research something, don't put it off as, I'm going to start in 2 weeks. Just do it like this podcast. I basically like. Late 2019, I said to Con, do you think about a podcast? We contacted a few people, and now a year later, have a reasonable following of people who tune in to listen to us every week, and it's mad. And I don't even think I've told you like this, or maybe I have. But someone messaged me, I won't say who, a friend, a female friend, and she listened to, and she listened to one of the podcasts, and based off of the information that she learned from the podcast, she broke up with her boyfriend. And I was just like, so the information, like,
wait, hold on. Can I just ask something? Is that a positive or a negative?
Yeah, so it's a positive thing.
Okay.
So she realized that he wasn't the kind of person that she wanted to be with, based on the conversation that we were having, and broke up with him. It was crazy, bro. And she messaged me.
Wow.
So we're like doing this, and I would have never thought that I would have that kind of effect on people. But that's the point of this, is that I'm trying to have conversations that bring about thought in people.
And
so
you know, it's mad that you said that, because one of the first conversations we had about the podcast and why we're doing it, and I think I truly remember, I think I did mention it. I said the stories that we're gonna have, it's about the people on our level. It's not about bringing people that are bigger. And because like between us, we know bigger people than us in terms of footballers, like big
status,
people. But the whole point was to bring people on that were on our level. Like, you know, they've had an upbringing where they've gone to school, to university, college, coming up and letting people realize there's actually people out there on your level that have had the same upbringing, same struggle, same everything, and are successful and they're doing well for themselves. And that's what it was about. And so to hear that, that's crazy.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And like, obviously, I'm 100% sure there's other people that see and hear other things, but obviously I've not come forward.
We got more stories that's gonna break up relationships. Like,
no, we're not about that.
I'm joking.
But just to wrap up, I just wanted to go to both of you, and either one of you can start. Is like, what's something that you learned last year? Like, that's like important. So me, it was like, if I want to do something, just do it. Like, it doesn't really have to be the perfect. I'm one of these people, I like to like super plan everything. Like, I want everything to be sort out, calculated. I know when this is good. And it's like, life don't work like that. Like, everything doesn't align at once for everything to be perfect. So sometimes you just got to take a leap of faith and just see. Obviously, it's got to be a little bit calculated. You might want to see where you're going to jump before you jump, but you might have to take a leap of faith. And that's one thing I learned last year. So what did you two learn, just to like, wrap up?
I learned that you can control people through fear.
You're going to rattle some people. Yeah, we're not even going to go there.
Yeah.
We're going to go there. Whatever.
Just like, for me, it's just things happen for a reason, and don't see things as when negative things happen, a positive can always come out of it. And like, I have been, I wouldn't say a victim of it, but a lot of negative things have happened over the course of the last year. But I've always looked on the brighter side, and I've come out better every single time. So for me, it's like, don't think any setback means you're a failure, blah blah blah. You just keep going. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, just go with the flow.
100%. Well, that's been the Detailed on Matt
Well,
podcast.
hold on. Can we get them to like subscribe and
where
can they find us? Where, do you know what I'm saying? Because we've been signing up hella shop. You know?
Like, it's true. So like, obviously, this is the Detailed on Matt podcast. If you're watching this, if you're looking at this, then you know, like, go press the subscribe button and like, give us a like.
Why are you not pressing the like button?
and also, all Dom's friends. Hey, shout out all Dom's friends that are not supporting this as well. By the way,
like,
I see you, man. I see you,
made it to the end and I'm not pressing the like button. I'm getting vexed, you know. Yeah. That's the like button, man.
And also, just talking about the Bitcoin stuff that that Connor mentioned. You mentioned a few names and a few books. We'll put that in the comments for you, all of that stuff, so you can, you know, some of you ain't gonna remember, so we'll put that in there so you can, you know, do your research, and then
100%. And those of you who have already subscribed, who are already following the social medias, we appreciate you. Thank 100%. You so much.
Yeah, and obviously the it's all on the main podcast platforms and all that stuff. So make sure you leave reviews. Obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, like I said, subscribe, like on the podcast platform, give us a review, give us some comments. You know what it is. So
yeah, and tell us what you want us to speak on next time.
Razor.